movie is the more we take God out of things, the more death becomes a thing. But what are some teachings or philosophy that you want to bring back to the country so we can just be a little bit more united?
So I do think that when you take God out of the equation, a lot of things collapse. And I think that people have been living off of sort of the fumes, the fuel tank for Western civilization has been emptied. God was the fuel, they took it out, and the secular Enlightenment sort of removed that. And so we've been living off the fumes of that for a very, very long time. And the fumes are starting now.
I feel like we're coming back to God.
I think that there is a God-shaped hole in people's heart that has to be filled somehow, and either it's going to be filled with addictions and politics and tribal thinking, or it's going to be filled with God again. And so I think that people increasingly...
I think we're looking at the hand of Nineveh again.
Yeah,
I think our people need to repent and beg God to come back to this country.
I mean, I agree with that, actually. Again, I probably, as a Jew, I probably brought more people back to the church than there are not a lot of people in the United States who have done more on that. I think it's deeply important that people go back to, I mentioned it multiple times here, as a non-Christian. I think that this is a country that...
You're like Peter.
We had a different belief. I do think that it's very important that people get enmeshed in a biblical set of values again, because that undergirds all the principles that I want to see. So the things that we used to hold in common when I was growing up, things like you're an individual and I should treat you by your individual nature and how you act rather than your race. Right? Like that is a biblical principle, right? That's human beings made in the image of God.
Amen.
Right? In male and female, he made them, right? It's straight from Genesis. So that's a straight biblical principle, but it's very hard to get there actually through and be non-tribal without that verse. Like I think that's the most important verse in all the Bible. How about the idea that we have to reason together? Reason is really, really important. Well, obviously that's deeply important in Christian literature. I mean, that's the logos, right? But in Jewish thought, that's also the idea behind there's a creator. He made a discernible, understandable creation, right? Lo b'shamayim, he is the quote in Hebrew. It's not in heaven, right? It's given to you so you can understand it. And so using reason is actually a biblical value. Mm-hmm. And when you don't have reason, then you just revert back to the feelings. You revert back to how I feel about things, what makes me feel good. And that's really dangerous. The idea that you become
chaos.
Yes. The idea that you have duties in the world, like moral duties in the world to your wife, to your children, to your community, to your country, right? As opposed to a country that is rooted in what am I owed? Right? What are the things that everyone else owes to me? So when I was growing up, it was like, okay, if there's a piece of trash on the street, you pick it up. Okay, somebody else should have picked it up, but they're not there, so now you're going to pick it up. And that's like a very minute example of the kind of stuff that builds social fabric. Because the opposite is also true. If you don't pick it up, everybody just starts leaving their trash everywhere. I mean, that's basically broken windows theory.
Los Angeles.
Yeah, exactly. And so
if you keep saying that it's not a problem to problems, it just accumulates until you're like, all right, well, this is a huge problem.
And not just that. If you say it's not my problem, then the problem starts. Right.
Wow, that is a brilliant point of view. I think everybody kind of took the privilege of like, it ain't my job, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Again, biblical and Old Testament is like, well, we're not asking you to be your job, but could you be a good person and do the job?
Right. I think public institutions facilitate that kind of thinking because like, okay, well, I gave it the office. Okay, so there's trash on the street. Wasn't there a trash person whose job it is to like come and pick up the trash? And yeah, there is. You did pay that, but also this is your community, it's where you live. And so it should be pretty important to you that if there's trash on the streets, if you see something in there, the trash missed it, probably you should pick it up and just toss it in the trash. And like small things like that. So, we're very lucky. We live in a very close-knit Jewish community where everybody knows their neighbors. It really is old school. Everybody knows their neighbors. Everybody's kids know each other. And kids doing something bad on the playground, other people's parents will discipline, right? I mean, like it's just treated as community. That is the way that things ought to be in the United States. And I think that has fallen away. And again, I think the only way, I don't think that can be built top down. I think one of the mistakes you sometimes see on the right is, okay, we'll legislate that top down. We'll grab control of the government and then we will ram morality down, top down, and it'll fix all the problems. This presidential election, bam, everything will be, that's not true.
We need foundation.
Social fabric is built ground up and destroyed top down. Right? And so once it's been destroyed, you can only build one way, and that's to actually get together. People say, what can I do politically? The answer is you can go to church. You can get together with your community. You can build a nice community school. You can make sure that your kids know other people who you think are virtuous. You can train them in the ways of virtue. And that's how you build a community that's functional.
That's what the church teaches. The church teaches they will know you by your fruits, and it's not your works, it's the grace of God. So when you act like a Christian, people would want to be a Christian. But if you say you're a Christian and you don't act like a Christian, then it causes them to be like, well, I don't even want to be a part of this. There's no peace or joy. Sorry for cutting you off, God.
No worries. But 100%, I think it starts at home, and I think that we've created a